All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. How are we doing today? Yeah. All right. So, eh, all right. Good evening, everyone. You're welcome again to uh, Beyond Agritech. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining. It's uh, it's going to be a wonderful time. So, without wasting much of our time, let's get right to it while others join us. All right. So, I want to welcome everybody once again, and uh, I want to welcome our speakers. We have we have quite a number of people lined up to speak to us today, and not just about agriculture or about data. It's also about the future. It's about what happens after now. It's going to be a mind shift, something that helps us to refocus our attention, that help us rethink the way we do things, especially as it regards data and agriculture. Now, this is important because considering the Nigerian economy, up to 20 to 25% of our economy is dependent on agriculture. And because of that, it becomes a sector that is really difficult to ignore. We really cannot say that it's not there. And if a sector is that big in our in a country like Nigeria, then it makes sense that we do all we can to make sure that we know what we are doing in that area. All right. So before we go deep into it, or before we bring in any of our speakers, I'll be bringing us, I will usher us into the session properly, where we look at things systematically together, how we got here in the first place as a country and as a data company, as an authority in the field also, how do we help each other go from where we are to where we need to be so that our waste does not continue, so we can optimize our resources and also know what to anticipate as far as resources is concerned, as far as food is concerned, and also as far as we are concerned as stakeholders in agriculture. All right. So, on behalf of Smart Edge Consultant Analytics, I want to warmly welcome us all to today's event. It's titled Beyond Agritech, using data to forecast and optimize and also scale agriculture in Nigeria. And the reason we say that is to make sure that we don't just carry around the buzzword Agritech, is to help us look a little beyond that. That having come to the point where technology is applied to agriculture, what are the other important things that we need to put into consideration if we must optimize, if we must get maximum results out of our effort that are being put to the field every day and every time? So again, I just want to say thank you for taking your time to actually join us in spite of many other things you could have been doing today, and for rating this to be an important conversation, because if it's not important, I believe you won't be here. So thank you for joining. Like I said, agriculture is one of the most important sectors in Nigeria, because after we take away our oil, the next big thing in Nigeria as of today is agriculture. It is true that we have all sorts of technology popping up and all kinds of business coming up, but they are still very much toddlers when we compare them to agriculture. This is a sector that existed before we even found out about the fact that we have oil in the first place. So it's been an ancient sector in the sectors that we have in Nigeria. So it's important we pay serious attention to it. And we are talking about agriculture today, not just because it's the only way or it's one of the important ways to feed the nation, but also because it's a way to supply livelihood beyond the food. It's the way some people get their money. It's the way some people get their purpose. It's the way some people drive the economy or the way some people contribute to the economy. And when we talk about potential that it holds for economies such as Nigeria's, it's very enormous and there is practically no end to it. And by that, I mean, if we decide to go fully into agriculture today, we have more than enough resources as far as land is concerned to give everybody in the country a farmland. And now imagine what it would be if everybody goes into farming and they know what is expected of them or what it should yield. It then means we have more than enough of what it takes to feed the nation, what it takes to drive the economy, and what it takes to have a strong livelihood in such a way that you don't have to depend on anybody else for you to actually do well for yourself. So, but despite that importance and everything we have mentioned, it is obvious that we have one major challenge which continues to affect that sector again and again. And that's the gap between decision and data. A lot of people plan today without an iota of foresight into what should be expected from their labor, from their effort, from their work. A lot of decisions are being made because those decisions need to be made, not because those decisions are properly understood. A lot of decisions are being made not because the outcome is understood, but because it's just the next thing they think they should do. And for a very long time, we have learned farming or agriculture by instinct or by observing other people, but not really through record, not truly insight, not really true insight. And so if you cannot apply insight, if you cannot apply records, if you cannot apply data to the work we do, how then are we so sure that our future is secured? And those are the things we want everybody here to reconsider today. That is, you're not just an agriculturist or somebody who is involved in agriculture, but to begin to see yourself as a stakeholder who will not just do agriculture because it has to be done, but will do agriculture with a knowing of what is expected and an expected result from those efforts and energy that are being put in place every time. So for many times we plan, we forecast, even distribution pricing. I'll take that again. For many times we talk about planning, we talk about forecasting, we talk about distribution, we talk about pricing, and even food security. But all of these cannot happen with the level of accuracy, the level of structure, and accessible data needed without data being in place. So if you want to distribute, we want to forecast, and we want to put accurate structure and accessible data in place for best decision, all of these becomes impossible without data. And that's why we are putting everybody together this evening to make sure that we don't just run because we have to run, but we run with a foresight of our destination and what is expected throughout the journey. So, and that is why this particular conversation is very important. I've said it earlier, we don't just want to carry the buzzword around Agritech and everybody can shout it. What are you doing? I'm into Agritech. What is this? I'm into Agritech. We don't just want to carry that word because it is fancy. We want it to mean way more beyond that. Because what we're talking about today is about to go beyond technology alone. But after now, we want to look at it that moving forward, everybody here as an agricultural person and everyone here as a data person can begin to ask, how can data help us predict agricultural outcomes better? How can analytics improve productivity and reduce waste? Because it's still very much a waste if we cannot reduce our waste even while our productivity is increasing. And also, we can begin to ask, how can insights support farmers, businesses, policymakers, and even entire agricultural value chain? And when we talk about value chain, without assumption, I believe that we know that it then extends beyond the people who produce the farm produce. It now goes into everyone that is involved from the production to the time it becomes food on your table. All right. So, and lastly, and ultimately, how can we build a smarter and more sustainable agricultural ecosystem in Nigeria? And this is where you come in, because you are not just a data person, you are not just an agricultural person, you have become a stakeholder. You are not just a passerby, you are not just a common person who is doing something just to survive. You have become a stakeholder. And as a stakeholder, it means when everybody seems to be less concerned, you are very much concerned. Because the things that you do moving from that point forward affect you and affect everybody. Where other people cannot be helped, you have to help them. So, at Smart Edge, we strongly believe that data should not only exist, it should drive strategy and impact. It should drive action. So it's not just for us to know what data can do. We should actually make data do what it can do. So sincerely speaking, we are very much excited to have our speakers in the house today. Our attendees, we are very much to have you. Now we are bringing together this different perspective from agriculture, from technology, from analytics and innovation, simply to find a way to make sure that moving forward, our agricultural ecosystem does not remain the same. So moving forward, we make decisions like people that are informed, not just somebody who farms. And as we go on, I hope this session sparks a meaningful conversation. It brings about new ideas, new collaborations. Maybe 2, 3, or 4 people will find their partners here today and begin to do something great, something wonderful together. And we're looking forward to practical thinking around the future of agriculture in Nigeria. And so once again, I want to thank everybody for making it to this place this evening and being a part of this conversation. Thank you so much. Once again, you are welcome, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Allah, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And let us start by introducing our speakers before we call them one by one to start giving their insights on beyond agritech and speaking on the use of data to forecast, optimize, scale agriculture in Nigeria. Thank you once again. Um, so let me start by introducing Mr. Edo, one of our speakers for today. He's a curriculum and agribusiness development trainer. Thank you, Mr. Edo, for being here. And we also have Mr. Olamilekan David. He just gave us some intro right now. He's the CEO of Smart Edge Consulting and Analytics. Thank you once again for being here. We also have Mr. Robert Masila. He's a data and business analyst. He will be talking to us on the use of data to forecast and optimize agriculture in Nigeria. Thank you once again. So to start with, I'll be calling on Mr. Edo, the curriculum and agribusiness development trainer, to speak to us and give us more understanding on the topic for today. Mr. Edo, are you ready for us?
Good evening, and thank you very much for a
Thank
warm
you.
introduction. I want you to confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so thank you very much. I would perhaps wish, if you are comfortable putting on your video, you should. I think it looks fantastic when you are talking more to people that you can see. If you have that confidence, you can put it on, but if probably you are maybe in a relaxed mood that you cannot, or it would be fantastic to see your faces. Can I have my slide hosted so that I can talk through it? While I will wait for the slides to be posted. My name is Edo Peter, and beyond curriculum development, I am an agri-entrepreneur. I am a value chain development expert, and I currently work with the World Bank, and I have about 17, 18 years field experience. You know, there is a field experience, there is a theoretical experience. Field experience in agriculture. I am a farmer across all boards, livestock, plants, and economic trees. That is what I do. So I am not a theoretical agriculturist. I'm a functional, practical agriculturist. I will be speaking briefly. I just have about 25 minutes, so I will do 20 minutes talking to my slides, and probably we could do just 5 minutes questioning. So let me see. Let me see if I could try the slides. So. Okay, great. Can you help me put the slides on presentation mode? That would be very helpful for everyone to be able to see the slides. All right, so I will be doing a brief talk about, I am going to lay a foundation. Let's take it like that. So my conversation is going to be all encompassing. It's going to be all encompassing briefly, but I will, of course, make sure I do not delve too much into other topical issues that other presenters will speak on. I'll be talking about the role of agriculture in Nigeria's economy and food security. The conversation around agriculture in Nigeria is both interesting and frustrating. Is both interesting, and the longer time within the agricultural ecosystem in Nigeria, you are actually going to take home a lot of frustration, because in the last 35, 40 years, we only talk about potentials. Potentials does not translate to outcome. So it's not just enough to have the agricultural potentials in terms of the human capital, in terms of the land mass, in terms of the climate. We have all of this, but that seemingly is not enough. I have been privileged to travel to every country, every state in Nigeria, and from that agricultural understanding perspective, I've been to the South, I've been to the Southeast, I understand the Southwest very well. I actually work right now within the northern part of Nigeria. So I understand so when you're talking about agricultural endowment in Nigeria, can we have the slides bigger than that, or is that what we could have? So when you're talking about agriculture in Nigeria, I understand both at that level, at the practical level, and also at the policy level. I've been part of quite a number of policy discussions, especially as it involves enhancing youth participation in agriculture. So just like, let me build on what the speaker said. So if you're looking at agriculture, I'm going to talk about the role of agriculture in Nigeria's economy now and food security. Agriculture is one of the biggest sectors in Nigeria. And there are three sectors in Nigeria that actually intersect and oscillate among themselves. First is the service sector. The service sector describes the telecom, the banking, finance, trade, real estate sector. Then you talk secondly on that about the industrial sector, which integrates or encompasses oil and gas, construction. Then you come to agricultural sector, which involves crop production, livestock rearing, forestry, and fishing. So these three sectors plays very critical role in the Nigeria's economy. And over the years, in the last 4 or 5 years, the telecom sector have been delivering a GDP of about 55 to 57%. And that is quite significant. Of course, you can understand it if you really understand the strength of Nigeria's informal sector. We have a very robust informal sector, which encompasses not just agriculture, but into other areas. Then the industry sector delivered approximately about 16 to 23% of Nigeria's GDP, while the agricultural sector closes about 20 to 25 GDP. So you could see how significant it is in terms of building a nation. So our nation, our country leverages agriculture, not just only in the area of food production, but also in the area of ensuring that the economy stays and it is stabilized. And so if you look at like the distributions I have on the slide, for a year period of 2023, 2024, 2025, the table just tells you how these three areas intersect. And sometimes in a year, one could just play the other. And in terms of quantification, Nigeria's agricultural sector generates about 101.46 trillion turnover in 2025. That is huge. If you look at it, it's huge. And of course, that translates to a GDP of about 18.3 trillion, constant prices in the first quarter of 2025. In the third quarter of 2025, agriculture contributed around 31.2% of the GDP. And also agriculture, beyond just, the internal, building the internal economy, agriculture also plays a significant role in constituting Nigeria's largest export sector. So if you want to describe that as a non-oil sector, Nigeria's non-oil export reached approximately 12.36 trillion in 2025, with agriculture forming a large share of the value. So now this data classified here quietly and of course, most importantly, impress the fact that agriculture is our mainstay. Our economy is driven on agriculture. Now, what are some of the current data that we can share? In terms of job creation, Nigeria's agricultural sector currently sustains about 25.3 million jobs, making it the country's largest employer. Agriculture is a sector in Nigeria that you practically don't require much education. With a little formal or informal education, you could join the sector. And of course, is a skill-driven sector. Basically, the lowest skills, if you have access to land, you have access to capital, then you can operate at the lowest probably level of being a smallholder farmer. Of course, Nigeria's agricultural sector is driven 70 to 80% by smallholder farmers. Mechanized agriculture is not very visible in our agricultural ecosystem. All right, then Nigeria's agricultural sector employs about, all right, so I think I've dealt with that. So that represents, so the employment, the agricultural employment represents about 30 to 34 of total employment in the country. That is huge. That has been very consistent over the years. Of course, in 2024, 2025, we've had cases of insecurity, and rural-urban migration affecting probably this population in a way. But of course, it's been a constant over a period of time. Between 2019 and 2024, Nigeria likely added between 2 to 4 million additional agricultural jobs or livelihoods over the 5 years. So you could see that there is actually an additional of an average of 2 to 4 million jobs within a period of 5 years. This job creation does not include, the opportunities that are available in value-adding component, because over the time we have not been able to move our value addition beyond production. We have just been able to stagnate at the level of cultivating raw materials. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava currently, and there are quite a number of crops that we are also doing very well, but we have more or less not been able to move from that level of production into the level of value addition. That means that jobs, agricultural jobs, could practically triple to between 4 to 6 or 4 to 10 million within a period of 5 years. In terms of population projection, Nigeria's population is currently 230 million people, and this is roughly going to escalate between now and 2050 to about 270 to 400 million. That clearly is going to require, the sector is going to require or create more 20 to 30 million new additional jobs. And so when we are talking about, driving agricultural sector through data, the sector may actually accommodate more jobs, more innovative jobs, especially with the integration of climate smart agriculture. And with all of this, what is likely to happen is that Nigeria is likely to expand food production at a level where it can also not only take care of internal consumption, but it can also contribute significantly to the GDP in terms of forming an essential component of the non-oil export. Can I have the next slide, please? So in the next slide, I'm going to look briefly or talk briefly about food security and food sovereignty. We are neither food secure nor have we attained the level of food sovereignty. It is very key that the burden of agricultural transformation in Nigeria, which rests on leadership, has not found a place in the national development framework. And of course, let me briefly talk about this conversation, which is around agriculture, precision agriculture, data. Now, Nigeria's agricultural problem starts from the level of identifying who actually is a farmer. This narrative of smallholder farmers in the last 30 years, is nonsense. It is not data compliant. And that is where the conversation actually begins, because when we are talking about food production, who is producing what? So how many are we? Who are the real farmers? We have not been able to come out with a clear demarcation of the number of farmers or people who are engaged. We just cover it up by saying that 80% of food production is driven by smallholder farmer. peasant smallholder farmers. So that is where the conversation needs to start from. If we're able to take the conversation at that level, because from my work in agriculture and my work with smallholder farmers, I have come to see, and of course backed up by data, that 80 to 85% of the Nigerian smallholder farmer constitute of people that are 50 years and above. So the young people within the age of 18 to 34 covers just about 15%. So if you are looking at that kind of disaggregation, then you know that we have a very long way to go, because we need to have the agricultural sector manned by young farmers between the age of 18 to 34, occupying at least 60% of that farmer population equity. So it is when we get to that level, because we cannot develop agriculture if we are not able to transfer the knowledge, the critical knowledge that can house that transformative agriculture in the hands of, so except and unless we are able to have that shift where we have more young people that are open to knowledge, open to precision agriculture, that is when we will be actually say we can have a foundation that we can leverage to drive transformative agriculture. So first, the population. First, second, ensuring that that population constitutes a very large number of young people who house the knowledge in terms of climate smart agriculture, precision agriculture, and all of that. So let me come back to food security and food sovereignty. Food security means that all people have reliable access to enough safe, nutritious, and affordable food at all times. And it also has 4 critical pillars, which are availability, utilization, stability, and assets. We have not been, Nigeria cannot claim that it is food secure. We have not been able to cultivate more than 47% of the arable land that we have. And even at that, out of about 114 million metric tons of food that we produce, between 120 to 140 million metric tons of food that we produce, we are still battling with post-harvest loss of almost 50%. Why? Because the answers are just obvious. A broken system that cannot support food, not even being able to support, the processing of the little we produce in terms of packaging, storage, and all of that. So now this is a very big problem. And of course, in as much as we have that incredible potential, we still have a lot of gaps that we need to take care of. Can I move to my last and concluding slide? So yes, in summarizing the role of agriculture, the benefits are very clear. First, agriculture plays a very critical role in terms of ensuring that the nation it's in a motion form. That is, agriculture is an integral or an essential part of Nigeria's GDP. That's number one. Number two, it is also one of the largest sector that creates job in Nigeria. If you look at qualifications, if you look at experience in Nigeria, anyone who could jump to the agricultural sector. Then it is also one of the sectors that drives logistics. Agriculture is one of the biggest sector that drives logistics in Nigeria. The movement of food and the movement of raw materials. There's a lot of heavy movement of agricultural products and output. And of course, also in terms of foreign exchange. So if you put all of this together, you could see that the agricultural sector is very critical. So by way of conclusion, I want to briefly talk about, in addition to all I have said, probably mention more gaps, which also is going to add to value to where we are driving this conversation to. In all of this production, in all of these dynamics of challenges that we have, up till now, it is not just embarrassing, it is disappointing that Nigeria at this level, 90% of agricultural production depends on rain-fed agriculture. In fact, the available data indicates that Nigeria has about 3.1 million hectares of irrigable land, but it's only about 5%. And I can bet you that the percentage of land that is being used for agriculture right now is not up to 5%. At the early part of this year, we decided to take a feasibility visit to the remote parts of Kaduna State. Kaduna State is a land that is one of the biggest cultivators of grain in Nigeria, within the northwest part of Nigeria. And we were able to cover a period, a land mass of almost 40 kilometers during the dry season, within a point where the expectation is that you will see at least 10 dry season irrigation farmers. We did not see one. We did not see one. So that tells you that, economies that are getting it well in agriculture, they are highly catalyzed. So Nigeria is just moving at a natural pace. Nobody is bothered by anything. The data, the conversation at the governance level does not match what is happening in the field. Every part of the system is broken, and that is really very worrying and is also very concerning. Nigeria, in the last 5 years, Nigeria may have spent over 25 trillion naira on food imports, looking at it from between 2021 and 2025. So look at the huge amount we're investing in food imports, and that tells you that all is not well in the field of agriculture. And of course, that also brings me to the last mention of a point, the fact that, yes, we have highlighted the significance of agriculture and how it can benefit the country. And I want to close with a look at, the gains that agriculture, the value that agriculture could add to our GDP, in terms of if we are able to develop the value addition sector. Full agricultural industrialization could add between 40 to 100 billion US dollars annually to Nigeria's economy over time. The ginger, we have not recovered from the ginger story. Just last week, we were hit with another disappointing findings. The Nigeria's ginger export fell dramatically from about 26.2 billion naira to probably near zero. So these outcomes are very concerning. Be that as it may, agriculture is very important. So I believe that this conversation is targeted towards closing the gap between the potentials that we have in agriculture, managing the wastages in terms of leveraging data, and seeing how we can create, not just a policy shift, but both policy and action. There has to be a coherence shift in the policy and action, so that we can also ensure that this sector takes us to where we should be, in terms of not just being a national food producer, but a global food supplier. So thank you very much. So if I have any time left, I will probably take a question. I don't know how many minutes I've exhausted, but I am sure someone is moderating my time.
Yes, you still have few minutes left, and we can use that for Q&A session. Please, do
Beautiful.
we have questions from Mr. Edo based on what he has given us today? Any insights, any addition or question?
Feel free to ask me practical questions.
Okay, I guess my question would be that, considering the gap between people involved in agriculture at the moment, and in fact, you gave the number, the big number is people from 50 years old and above, and between 18 and 34 is around 15% of the people involved in agriculture at the moment, if I remember correctly. So if I'll be asking, with all of this development that we have in both in technology and people's interest, how do we get to cover that gap? How do we get to bring more people into agriculture in a way that when they are involved, they also solve some of these problems that we have seen from your presentation?
All right, thank you very much. I think that's a great question. First of all, there are so many moving systems, and they must continue to move at the same time. So the system you are driving is one of the critical systems that needs to keep moving for us to be able to get to where we are going. There are other systems like, the infrastructure in terms of the critical infrastructure, roads, logistics, food preservation and all of that. But to give a direct answer to your question, another system that needs to be operationalized is that Nigeria needs to have a functional smallholder farmer succession plan. So currently, just a minute, let me put my battery on. So Nigeria needs to have a functional smallholder farmers succession plan. Just a minute, let me just connect my battery so that it doesn't go. All right, so currently there is no government parastatal that is driving agriculture that can tell you categorically that we have a smallholder farmer succession plan. Now, as long as we do not have a succession plan, there is no way we can manage the exit of aging farmers. And if you look at the adoption of climate smart agricultural practices, the adoption rate of younger farmers is always farmers who are exiting the system. So in all of this, while this conversation is going on, we must also push at that frontier of ensuring that we have a smallholder farm. That is the only way you can get younger farmers, even from the point of graduating. Like if you look at the ecosystem right now, an average graduate of agriculture is riding Okada, is selling recharge cards. Meanwhile, these are the guys that are actually supposed to form part of that succession plan. So when we have that understanding that we need a succession plan to succeed in the field of agriculture, then advocacy engagement begins to shift to that corridor where we need to not only engage government. Of course, for me, the government has been very, very docile. Then you begin to engage the private sector to begin to create a kind of incentive. Of late, there was this incentive that people who want to pursue agriculture don't need to write JAM. That is nonsense. At this phase of our nation building, we should be able to not only give tuition incentive to all graduates of agriculture, but we should actually be paying them monthly salaries. That is where we are supposed to be. Not only giving what is incentive in writing JAM. We should not only give them tuition incentive, but everyone studying agriculture at this phase is supposed to earn a salary, no matter how small. So you see now, when you begin to look at the policy in that perspective, then you are beginning now to shift to a platform where we should have an integrated smallholder farmer succession plan. That is what that Nigeria doesn't have that in place. And now you can get younger people to take over the value chain, the system. We cannot have a breakthrough in value addition if we do not get young people, because value adding is a critically demanding activity. We're talking about packaging, we're talking about processing, we're talking about something that you could just add a little ingredient and it gives you another product entirely. That is where young people need to sit, but we are not having that. So I hope I've been able to touch your question. So the key factor is that smallholder farmer succession plan must be part of those moving parts that we need to engage as soon as possible. There is a question that was posted. Let me try to see if I can find it. So the question says, is there any link between the Ministry of Agriculture and the people? Well, there are no, first of all, if you look at how government has operated agricultural programs, of recent, in the last 20 years, the government operates agricultural programs through special programs anchored by the CBN. So in doing that alone, you have usurped the functions and the operations of the CBN or of the agricultural institutions like the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and all the Ministry of Agriculture. By doing that, you have like the Anchor Borrower Program. The Anchor Borrower Program was managed by CBN. So the Ministry of Agriculture was redundant. Meanwhile, this is supposed to be the responsibility of the. Of course, we understand that sometimes they do that to boycott bureaucracy. But you cannot continue to have a program, you cannot continue to have a sector that is very critical to the economy, that all the programs are pronounced under special intervention, then you set up other auxiliary institutions like CBN and NISA to be doing the job. At the end of the day, the critical information that is supposed to be housed by Federal Ministry of Agriculture, they don't house it. And don't forget that if you want to improve a system, knowledge management is very key. So all of this now has led to a situation where they continue to create more institutions with racketeering responsibilities. So eventually this government comes, it brings its own system and policy. The other government, there is no coherent policy that, you know, is in place to ensure that there is accountability. Eventually, the anchor borrowers' money ended up in the hands of people that are not even farmers. They have no business farming. You may call them theoretical farmers. So, well, all of these are not new issues, but we are at the critical point where we have to drive towards ensuring that these kind of things don't continue. So the discontinuity, it means that policies will have to be more focused. Then policy drivers, there has to be, the private sector needs to push. The accountability level of government is very low. For instance, if you want to ask this government, what did they allocate to agriculture? What percentage of the budget did they allocate to agriculture? How much was released? So I think it's more of just paperwork, lip service. And so it tells you that a lot needs more to be done. So I think I've the first question. Your question, can agriculture reach its potential without active government involvement? It is going to be very difficult to be able to hit that potential threshold where we can have all the sectors, critical sectors that drive agriculture working without government intervention. You know, government is supposed to lay the foundation. Government is supposed to drive policy. Of course, a lot of the private sector can contribute to policy decisions, but the government, the core responsibility is on government to release, first of all, to identify that the area of agriculture needs to be developed, allocate the right budget, release the budget on time, ensure that budget release does not overlap, ensure that if you are supplying fertilizer to farmers. Of course, the fertilizer, does it really get to the farmers? It doesn't. Even when it gets, at what point does it get to the farmers? Sometimes the fertilizers gets to the farmers at the point where they are already far into the raining season and all of that. So all of these are issues. And there's another question, security challenge. Then when you now begin to lay the challenge of security on top of already existing challenges, then it also complicates the entire situation, because security, life and security, if people are not secure, how are they going to farm? So it's a big problem. There are quite a number of issues. Like you said, the case of Benue. Food production in Benue State has been halted by half, by 50% in the last 5 years due to farmer herders crisis. So I think all of these are policy issues. You cannot be having somebody move his cows in 2026. It's not going to work. You can't have people move cows in 2026. All of these are policy issues. So the government is just dancing around it. And that also, these are issues that, are creating more complications in the visibility of agriculture in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edel, and thank you for the questions as well. We really appreciate this great insight and information. Thank you. We appreciate. We will be moving to the next speaker now, and that would be Mr. Robert Masila. He's, like I said, he's a data analyst and a business analyst, and he will be speaking on how to apply data in our agriculture in Nigeria. Mr. Roberts, you have the floor, please. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Madam Suziat. Good evening, everyone. As you heard, my name is Robert Masila. I'm joining you from Kenya, but I'm one of the team member of SECA. I'm a data analyst by profession and a business analyst as well. Sometimes we usually ask ourselves, what is data? And how can I capture data in agriculture? Because most farmers, we usually do farming the traditional way, but time has come when we need to do it in the modern way. And that is why we have even what we call smart agriculture. And if you ask yourself what is data, now I'll tell you that data is what you observe in your farm, in your livestock. What you observe is what we refer as data. You are observing quantity. You are observing quality. How many chicks? How long did they take? That is what we refer to data in agriculture. We also refer data as what we collect. How many eggs? How many liters of milk? How many bags of cassava? How many tins of bean? What we collect, whether in quantity or quality, is what we can also refer as data. What we gain, what you gain when you are doing your agriculture and you happen to harvest. The harvest is your data. The sales that you make from the sale of the products that you have is what you gain, and that is data. And also what the government gains. We also refer that as data. Mr. Peter talked about ginger export. And we noticed that from the information he has shared with us is that ginger has dropped from some billion to almost zero. That is what was observed, and that is what we refer to as data. So it's not a very complex thing. It's those things that we observe, we collect, we gain, and what also the government gains. And I want to be very brief with data analysis in agriculture. When we talk about data analysis in agriculture, we refer from the inception of data collection. And it will be very good if a farmer keeps record, capture the information, maybe in written form or in digital form, so that we can, we as data analysts, or we can even train them, or we can even refer them to a platform that can help them to analyze the information so that they can get some insight from this information, so that they are not doing things blindly. Those traditional farmers, the ones in the 80s and 90s, they had some way of keeping their records. But time has come when now we need to be serious in keeping records. These records will help us as farmers and as well help the country. Now, here we are talking about agriculture in Nigeria. I'll also come in and say agriculture in Kenya and as well as agriculture in Africa. Those countries that depend on agriculture. Now, I have a document here that I want to share with you about agriculture records that my government, my Kenyan government, has written a report for the public about agriculture. So let me share with you. Confirm for me that you can see that document.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, thank you. So this is National Agriculture Production Report for the year 2025, just last year. And the government wanted, this is our National Bureau of Statistics. The department mandated to collect, analyze, and write a report on behalf of the government to the public and the entire world about various sectors in the country. But this is just specifically for agriculture. We have for mining, we have for population, we have for household economic status and so forth. But this one is specifically for agriculture. Let's have a look at it. That this document talks about, let me take you there so that we go together. Okay, I would like to bring this to your attention. The agricultural sector remains the cornerstone of Kenya's economy, contributing 22.5% of the country's gross domestic product, the GDP, in 2024. Where did they get this information? Did KNBS guess this information? No, they didn't guess. It came from data. After comparing various sectors, they realized that agriculture contributes 22.5%, which is a very big, percentage. Let's move on. All right, I want to bring you to this particular point. Food crops. In Kenya, maize is the most significant crop, both in terms of cultivated area and total production. And now you can see there are some figures there. 2,400,000 and something hectares of maize were cultivated, and the produce was 4 million. This shows a double a double in terms of let's say this shows there is the harvest was large enough, 4 point something million, and the hectares grown was only 2.4. Suppose the country was able to sensitize their farmers to do something like 5 million hectares, we'll be talking of 10 million or 12 or thereabout. This is information that was collected from every farmer who went to the farm to do maize. Similarly, beans, we can see about beans here. Beans were the second most widely cultivated. Cassava also comes in. Cassava also demonstrated a high productivity. Now, if I was a farmer, of which I am a farmer, which product would I prefer when it comes to going to the farm? Due to the data given by the government and my area, I will look at this information, this report, and decide that I'm going to do beans. Why? Maybe beans, when we get to we have some tables down there, you will see that each product with how it fetched in the market. So if I decide to do beans, I'm doing it because I have seen a gap or I have seen better returns from the data that the government has given us, and also from the data that I have from the previous years that I've been keeping records. I want also to take you further to, let me take you to something else. Now, there is something about groundnuts here that caught my eyes. There is Bambara nuts production and value. Today, you are an investor from Nigeria to Kenya, and you want to put up an oil producing farm, an oil producing company. Before you come, and before you even settle, and before you even commit your money, it will be prudent for you to look at the data. And it is the data that will will help you to make a decision where to set up your farm, what type of a farm you'll set up, and what are the expectations, what are the prediction of the output, of your output or the returns. So when you look at this data, if I was, or one of us would think of oil producing, cooking oil, that is, cooking oil or even salve farm, then you'll look at Busia being one of the area. Busia is a state. These are states within the country. Busia is one of the states that produces high number. Oh, not is it not Busia? It's Kakamega. Sorry, Kakamega is one of the states that produces high number, or the production is high in terms of tons of ground nuts, or these whatever we call Bambara nuts. And therefore, unfortunately enough, since I live here, I know. Fortunately enough, Kakamega, Busia, Bungoma, Vihiga, those four, the first four, are within the same locality, are within the same area. They are not, they're neighbors. They are neighbors. In fact, Kakamega is the centralmost. Is the centralmost. And then the others are flank it around. Busia to the west, Bungoma to the north, Vihiga to the south. Therefore, if I put up my farm in Kakamega, I'm now confident that I will get raw materials, which are my inputs, And I'm confident that the production is high. If you look at their production are relatively high as compared to Lamu and Kwale. Lamu and Kwale are two states very far to the south of the country. So they are not close to this one. And therefore, transporting that Mambara nuts to this place will come at a cost. But the other one, Busia, Kakamega, Bungoma, and Vihiga, they are within the same place. And therefore, transport will not be a very big issue. The cost of transport will not be a very big issue. And also, they are the most producing. And then look at the returns, value in millions of shillings. The return is also good. Where did this information come from? Data. It came from data. I would like also to take you somewhere to the next, to my next presentation down there at, let me take you there. That is, all these are data, but we will not discuss them. This document will be available for your perusal after this meeting. But let me take you here. This is sunflower. Each product, each farm products are discussed here. Sunflower, groundnut, beans, everything. Now, I want to take you to something else here. Okay, this is about macadamia. This is also about macadamia, still about oil and the nuts. I will not discuss about that. Let's move to farming. Now, this is cattle farming, dairy farming to be specific. This is livestock statistics, but let's start with dairy farming. Okay, this is beef farming. You can see beef farming. These are the statistics from beef farming that this from 2020, 2021 down to 2024, we can see the number of dairy cattle that were kept. And you can see the figures are, although they fluctuated in the year 2021 and 2022, but they peaked again. And in 2024, it was the highest. Then we have also areas that indigenous beef cattle are kept, and you can see the numbers are very high, very, very high. And finally, the totals, therefore giving us the totals of cattle kept in the country. And these are the states that keep beef cattle. If today you want to put up a slaughterhouse, a meat processing plant, or something like, or you want to even to start a ranch, this data will guide you on where and which places or which state that you are likely to put up your slaughterhouse, you are likely to put your meat processing farm. By the way, the Chinese came in, and when they came in, I think they looked at this data and they realized in Turkana, there is a high number of beef cattle. They went and bought a piece of land and they put up a farm, a company, a meat processing plant. And they would buy, the beef cattle from the people, and they even encourage them to keep them. They encourage them to have more of them. And what they used to do, they used to slaughter those cattle, package, and export to China. That was the meat that was being eaten in China. Now, the government came in and they realized they are now receiving fewer cattle. We have also a government plant that that processes meat for local and also export. They realized they are no longer receiving cattle as they used to. So after they did the research, they realized there is a farm, a meat processing farm in Turkana, and they had to shut it down, and then start a negotiation. You process, sell it to us, we export as a country, and that is how the countries sometimes behave. And that is, I heard Mr. Peter talk about the same. If the government does not have a goodwill, then that business is also going to have challenges. Now, let me take you to maybe the second last. This is the map. This is the map of Kenya, and it shows the dairy cattle population distribution. And you can see where we have the deep green. Where we have the deep green shows those are the areas that dairy farming is done in high numbers. If I was to put up a plant, a milk processing plant, or you want to start a dairy farm, the data is helping you to locate up an area. An area where you are likely to reap, to get better returns, and also access to the infrastructure that are required. Then I'll bring the last one. Now we have this data here. We have this data here for sheep rearing. And we can see that hair sheep rearing, the one that produce cotton, not wool, sorry, wool, that Turkana still takes the day, followed by those others that as you see them. So if you want to put up a plant, if you want to start a ranch, or you want to start a wool processing plant, now the data guides you. You know where you are likely to get the raw materials, the input that you want. As I conclude, this document is there for your consumption, and it is not different from your country, I believe. It's the same. Agriculture is the same. Irrespective of the country, we have a few things that differ. Maybe the climate, maybe the rainy patterns, and so forth. But today we have smart agriculture, where we can try to control some of those factors, like those who are depending totally on rain. Today we have irrigation, we have greenhouses. For those who are depending totally on large lands for grazing, today we have fodder that you can prepare. You can go elsewhere where the fodder does well, grow the fodder, chop it, bring it to your cattle, or to your sheep, or to your goats, and then after you make the sales, now you can balance, see whether you have made a profit, or you have made a loss, or you have stagnated. There are several myths that I would like to bring to our attention, that we usually talk about them, but actually they are not true about data. Number one, we want to negate this myth. Number one is, you see, when we talk about data in agriculture, someone will go collect a lot of data, a lot of it. And they will even boast about, I have data for 2020, data for 2021. But what are the insights from that data? What can you tell us about that data? Now, these are the myths that people usually, most farmers usually make. That collecting more number automatically leads to more intelligent choices. No, that's not true. You can have large number of data, or a large amount of data, but that does not mean you can make an intelligent choice, a right choice. What makes a right choice? A right choice is made when you utilize the data that you have by analyzing it and extracting the insight, getting the insight from that very data. Number two is data replaces farmers' intuition. Good data doesn't replace your experience. Rather, it complements that experience. Data-driven farming adds a layer of evidence. What you are adding to your work, you can farm without data, but you are doing guesswork. But when you do it with data, now what you have done is you have added a layer of evidence that supports what you are doing. In my place, every March, we know it is it's the inception of our farming season. And people prepare lands, we buy seeds, we buy fertilizer. Now this year, since last year and this year, the rain pattern has been changing. Those who have been following that pattern, they did their farming in February. I and others, a million others, we waited for the month of April. This is the month that we usually plant. Immediately after Easter Monday, that is when most of the farmers were going into the farm. After the seeds were put in the ground, the rain stopped, and it went for 2 good weeks. And farmers started now calling on God. Oh, God, help us. Yes, he will come. But there was need for data also. So that those who did it early, they had seen the pattern of the rains. And as we speak, their crops are far, far, far beyond as compared to those who did it in April. Myth number 3 is that data systems are only for the big farms. That is what most of the people think, that big data systems are for those flower warehouses, big for those ranches, for those companies, those farms, that processing plants. No, that's not true. This is one of the most significant barriers to the adoption of data science in the agricultural sector. While large-scale operations were early adopters of data systems, today, farming softwares and online data is an agricultural tool that are built to serve farmers of all sizes, The other day, by the way, there is an agricultural extension officer who came to my place, and he sent me an app that I have installed on my phone, that I'm able to know if I happen to see any change on my crops. I can take a photo, send it to the system, and it is able to analyze that photo for me and tell me this is a deficiency for this kind of nutrient, or this is an attack of this type of this is an attack of this crop pest, or this is a certain disease for your chicken or chicks. This is a certain disease for your cattle, and so forth. And that app is now with the local farmers. I'm being one of them. So data is no longer for the big farms. It is for every one of us who is willing to do farming, who is willing to know about what is happening in the fields. Number 4, and the last, tech will solve every farming problem. That is one of the myths, that technology will solve every farming problem. Even the most advanced system won't address poor soil, unpredictable markets, or outdated practices. Technology is just a tool, but it's not a cure. What is the cure? The cure is the information that you will collect, the information that you will observe, the information that the information that you gain. That is what will help to cure the problems, the farming problems that are with our farmers. So even that extension officer needs to know about the information or the data information within the data about that particular field, so that when they go to give information, they are confident that they are presenting a cure and not a tool. The other day, we did some analysis for one of the agricultural sector in Nigeria with the SECA team. We extracted some data from a platform in Nigeria, an agricultural platform, and we did some analysis. And during that analysis, we realized, as Peter mentioned, that there are issues of land tenure, and in our data we realized that most of the lands in Nigeria are communal kind of tenure, are inherited kind of tenure, and therefore most farmers may feel they may lack the confidence of going to the farm and practicing whatever knowledge they have gained, because whatever they are doing may be countered by a family member or a relative, that you cannot do this in our farm, you cannot do that, you cannot grow this kind of crop. It is against the family rules and regulations and so forth. And also we realized something about gender. We noticed that most Nigerian farmers are between the age of 45 and 55. Where is the young generation in farming? And therefore, that one tells us, the data has helped us to know that young generation is not engaging in agriculture. Where are they? And therefore, the government and the bodies that, those organizations that are concerned about the same, can go out there, reach out to the youth, reach out to the young generation, talk to them, show them the reality, tell them about the need for agriculture and the importance of agriculture. And we can see them now starting to adopt the agriculture. Here in Kenya, there have been several initiatives that have been going out educating youth on agriculture, smart agriculture. And most of them have gotten into smart agriculture, especially I have seen fish farming, where they have been doing pond farming. Pond farming has become very popular here. Chicken farming has become very popular. I am one of them in poultry farming. We also have, I've seen also flour. Flour is also coming up. Flour farming, that is flowers for export. And some other smart agriculture that the youth, the younger generation are embracing. And it's because the data showed they had been left behind. So that is all that I had for us today. As I said, this document is there. You will be able to find it on SECA website and download it for your perusal, and you can also use it for to compare with your place whether they tie or there is a difference, and you can even buy some ideas from the analysis done here and apply it in your country or in your farm, and it will bring maybe a positive change. Thank you so much for that, for your time. Back to you, Susie, Madam Susie.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Do we have questions for Mr. Roberts on the use of data in agriculture? Hello? If you have questions, we can come up with questions now before we move to the next and final speaker for tonight. Okay, I don't think we have questions. But if eventually we have questions from Mr. Robert, we can drop it on the chat box. He would still be in the meeting to answer before the end of this session. Thank you, Mr. Robert, once again. So we'll be moving to Mr. Olamilekan David. He would be our final speaker for tonight in this webinar, the CEO of Smart Edge Consulting Analytics. Please, Mr. Olamilekan, you have the floor.
All right. Once again, everyone, good evening. Well done. Thank you for staying till now. And I want to believe that one way or another, you've been learning some things and you are gaining some insight. So as we wrap up, it's my intention to just bring us to the major part of these things, which is where we talk about the agriculture and the data itself. That is beyond agriculture as we have known it, beyond farming. We should begin to see agriculture as a system. And not just any kind of system, but a system that is highly dependent on data, that is highly dependent on forecasting, optimization, planning, in fact, decision making. I came from family of farmers who farm by instinct, who did the things they did because that's how their father did it. And so now they are doing it based on instinct or the things they've observed in time past. Now, as people who are aware that this is a system that is data dependent, how should we do this thing? Or how can we do this better than those people who have done it before us? This is where it gets interesting, because it will be madness for us to do the things the way it has always been done and then expect a different result. And that's why we are here, to learn new ways of doing these things. What are the things, what are the what are the data systems that can help our agricultural system in such a way that by the time we're done with our agricultural practice, we're able to come up with results that we can be proud of. Results that show something better than what those without data systems had. And so without taking much of our time, we are moving right into it. And I have about 4 different sections here. And I'm just going to skim through all of them because it's going to be brief because of our time. And so stay with me as we go on this journey together. So section 1, I'm saying that why does agriculture need data? Or if we're going to put it better, we can simply say the reasons agriculture needs data. So before we answer the why, let's look at those systems that agriculture actually depend on. These are data systems that are very crucial. And a lot of them we know by reason of practice, but we have not been paying attention to them. So it's not just for us to know today, it is after we know them today or we are reminded of them today, then we begin to pay attention to them. Some of the things we're going to mention here, they are going to be things that some of us know, they are going to be things that some of us don't know, and they're going to be things that some of us are going to be reminded of. And so I will say it as though we're just having a conversation. So for instance, agriculture is a data system, and there is practically nothing about agriculture in true sense that is realistically possible without weather. So first off, we talk about weather patterns. Everything that we do in data, in agriculture, is weather dependent. Is it going to rain? Is it going to sun? Is it dry? Is there dew? Is there all of those things? It matters a lot. How about production cycle? And I know it's common for many of us to say, we are in the harvest period, we are in the planting season, and stuff like that. But if we really looked at it as a production cycle, that in your production cycle, you have the time you plant, you have the time you wait for it to germinate. You have time where you have to protect what is germinating. Then you have time to fight. You have the time where you fight off pests and diseases. And then you have the time where it begins to flower before the time you now wait for it to fruit and the time that you harvest. And we know that even production cycle still will be incomplete without the harvest or without the safety of the harvest. How about demand forecasting? How about market pricing? Because if you plant, you harvest, and there's no price, or there is no price for your farm produce for where you want to sell it, then it becomes a problem. Because an asset that is not demanded is a liability. And because of that, data becomes very crucial, very important in the things that we do in agriculture. How about transportation and logistics? How about soil condition, storage and distribution? How about consumer behaviors? All of these things are basic things that we come across every day, irrespective of the size of your agriculture practice or your farm size. All of these things are the things we come across that we fight every day. But to a large extent, they have become so normal that we really don't pay attention to them. Every one of these areas generates data. For instance, 2 days ago on my phone, I got a notification that it was going to rain, 100% assurance from the weather patterns, from the weather system that's on my phone. And as of 10 a.m. in the morning, it's already raining. And yesterday, another pattern came and said it was going to rain, but only with 47% chance. But this time, the cloud gathered, the weather was cool, but there was no rain. Now, this thing is to tell us that all of these things that our agricultural practices depend on, they are also data dependent. And so if we can get the data, we can know how they want to behave, and by the reason of how they are going to behave, we can structure our own agricultural practice. And as a result, there will be no waste of resources. Our resources can be optimized. Our farm produce can be properly managed, distributed, stored, and then we are profitable at the end of the day. So this is why this conversation is very important. As to why agriculture needs data, if we see all of these areas that we have mentioned that are data dependent, and they determine what our agricultural outcome is, and we still don't see the need in data, then we know that the problem we've been having over the years will remain persistent or consistent with us. So every major agricultural decision is fundamentally a data decision. Every agricultural decision is fundamentally a data decision. And that goes into how much of crop to plant, how much of irrigation to be done, what time of the day to plant. Because I know there are plants that if you don't plant them very early in the morning, you have to plant them later in the evening. Because if they are scorched by the sun during the day, it can kill them. So all of those things, they are data decisions, even though they present themselves basically as agricultural decision, but they are data decision. And that's why it's very important to pay attention to them. You as an agricultural person, a professional who is having that as your means of livelihood, your means of productivity, your source of income, you cannot afford to just do agriculture like somebody who is just passing by. So you need to pay attention to the data involved in agriculture so that you can deliver optimally. Now, the importance of agriculture to Nigeria, that has been mentioned, and I don't think I should spend time here because 20 to 25% of Nigeria's GDP is from agriculture. And you can look at that and see the number of people being employed by agriculture, even from the information given to us by Mr. Peter. And you look at the concluding part of what Mr. Robert said, you see that agriculture is not a small employer of labor when it comes to the situation of Nigeria. So millions, in fact, indirectly and directly, all of us still one way or another depend on agriculture for our feeding. And so you can take that for instance and see that there is no escaping this. So in spite of everything we know and the importance of agriculture in Nigeria, still food prices continue to rise. We still have a lot of losses in our post-harvest seasons. Farmers still struggle with uncertainty. They don't even know when to plant. They don't even know what to expect. Supply chain remaining efficient. We don't even know where we are sending these things to. Who do we call to send this from year to year? And why should we even send it from year to year? All of those things are questions that remain on the minds of agricultural or agricultural people, because you plant and then you're looking for where to sell. Food insecurity still affects, an example, all of those things that are happening in Benue and other parts of the country. They are serious matters that we need to pay attention to. So, and this is telling us something very important. The challenge is not just about production. The challenge goes into intelligence. It goes into coordination. It goes into decision making. So we don't just need agriculture in Nigeria. We need smarter agriculture powered by data. We should no longer do these things by guesswork or instinct. What if we want to talk about the data gap in Nigeria agriculture? I'll start with limited reliable agricultural data. Mr. Robert was making reference to a data we collected to work on some agricultural data in Nigeria. And we know how difficult it was for us to get the little data we got. And some of them that we got, how unreliable they were. That's to tell us one thing, that even though data is running around us every day in agricultural field, in the industry, still we don't have them together in such a way that we can rely on them. And because of that, production data is incomplete, regional data is outdated, our market data is not even consistent. Farmers record, in fact, this is even terrible, because you know that you are the farmer. You are taking data to be able to track the development of things on your farm. Still, it becomes difficult for you to even save them together properly. And these people cannot be blamed entirely, because the problem is not because they don't want to keep the data, but a lot of them don't even know how to keep it properly. And supply chain visibility is very weak. You know, you have somebody to help you supply particular thing today, you don't have them to supply tomorrow. You don't really have it together. Now, all of these that we have mentioned, especially this data problem, what do they affect? They affect our planning. Mr. Peter was mentioning that. How that we do not have a succession plan for small farm owners. It becomes difficult to even plan for that when we don't have data of those small farm owners and that of the people that are supposed to take up the succession. How do we even develop policy for the things that we don't know? How do we make investment? How about resources allocation? All of those things are difficult things that we really cannot do for as long as our data is incomplete. How about now, where we have data, we have poor data collection systems. Even the ones that government said they are involved in, we still have problem with them. A lot of farm activities are not documented. Yields are not recorded. Harvest is not recorded. Profit and loss are not recorded. we just farm, we produce, we harvest, we sell. If we make money, good. We don't even know the difference between how much we're making and how much was invested in the first place. So all of these things affect the things we do, and they all boil down to poor data collection systems. So you cannot effectively optimize what you cannot properly measure. It is impossible. And that's one rule in data. If you cannot measure it, you cannot optimize it. Another problem. How about data literacy? And this is where such programs and discussion like this become important, because we know that a lot of people that are not doing well as far as data is concerned in the agricultural space, they are not doing well, not because they don't want to do well, but they don't even have what it takes to do well. They are not informed about data. They don't know about these things. And that's why situations, discussions, events like this are important. So if we invite you, if you have friends that needs to know about some of these things, let them know. A recorded session will be put on YouTube. It will be in your email, everybody here. And if you know you only got this information through WhatsApp, you are going to get the link through WhatsApp also. And if you want to stay connected with us, follow us on all our platforms and make sure you also register with us so that you can stay up to date with new development from here. But what was I saying? That a lot of people, even in the agricultural space, they don't even know what data is, despite the fact that data is all around them, from their decision to farm, to their decision to from their decision to farm, to their decision on what crop to farm, and then many other things that they do in between. All of that is data, but they don't know. So if people are not data informed, how can they data decide, right? So all of this come back to our data literacy, and we are working on the possibility of getting more powerful entities involved in situations like this, where we can actually inform people that beyond you getting involved in the activities, there are certain things you need to put in place for you to be able to say confidently that this is what you have done, and together we can look at the outcome. Because success is predictable. It's because there is a track record for it. So our farming activities, our farm productivity, profitability can be predictable if we have a track record for it. So to the most important part of what I'm saying here today, how data can actually help us transform agriculture. And first on that list, we are looking at forecasting agricultural outcome. You see, when we talk about smarter agriculture, we are not just talking about you knowing where to plant or when to plant. We are talking about you actually knowing also what to expect from what you've planted. You know when it will rain and when it will not rain. When you can predict pest control based on certain things that you are seeing on your farm. I remember back in the days on the farm, there are times where we as the children of my dad, we think it is time for us to just relax and chill at home. And that's when he's telling us that it is time to go and do this thing, because if we decide to do it next month, it will be too late. And we are wondering that, is it because you don't just want us to rest, or there is a problem you have with us having time to rest? But that's the beautiful thing about agriculture. You being able to predict what is about to happen. So pest outbreak, disease outbreak, your crop yield, your rainfall, your rain pattern, your demand fluctuations, food shortages, and different other trends. If you can see them ahead of time, then you can be fully prepared before they come. So if you know it will not rain, then you prepare for your irrigation. If you know there will be pest control, then it makes sense. If there will be pest outbreak, then it makes sense that you prepare to control the pest before it breaks out. And that's the beautiful part of all of these things. So we can forecast outcome when we apply data properly. And this is not just to be high-sounding grammars for us to listen to, but these are practical things that we can do, that we have also been doing. And so if you are into agriculture and how to go about some of these things are difficult for you, still reach out to us. We do these things and we can help you arrive at your desired destination. Helping you predict, helping you know what to expect on your farm part-time. All right? How about the second aspect of this? Optimizing resources. You don't just apply fertilizer because you think that's what you should do, but you know where to apply it, how much of it to apply to what portion of the land. How about irrigation schedules? When to release water, when not to release water, when to interchange between rainfall and your irrigation system, and all of those things. How about land utilization? All of these things, they are data problems. And these things, if we apply data to them, they help us transform the way we do agriculture and we get better from there. Optimization is how countries produce more with less, and you can make it personal. The optimization is how I produce more with less, and you can take that in any aspect of your life. And as a farmer that you are, you can see that optimization is how you produce more with less. I need us to really pay attention to that. Yes, we can reduce costs, post-harvest losses, if we know what is happening with your agriculture ahead of time. You know what is happening. There is no point waiting till you lose your resources before you do something about it, right? There is no point waiting till that time. And that's the beautiful part of all of these things. So let's pay attention to this. With the help of data, you can identify where your bottlenecks are, how you can improve your logistics, how you can track inventory, what you bought for, what amount, where is it stored, when is it needed. You can predict demand. Are people going to buy so product or so produce at this time of the year or not? And without that, it becomes really, what do I say? You do agriculture like every other person out there who don't know what they are doing. So what again? We can improve investment confidence. In fact, without explaining anything about this, imagine you telling somebody that if they invest a particular amount with you, or even you as a farmer, that you have a particular amount of money that you want to invest in your farm, and you have all your inventories, all your outcomes, resource allocation and everything, you have it mapped out and you know how it's going to turn out. Will you not have more confidence to go on with your agricultural activities than when you are just doing it because every other person is doing it? That's the beauty of data. And that's how it helps us to improve investment confidence. So if you're looking into going to big farming, it helps you put your story together in such a way that you can easily invite people to put their money and they invest well and you're good. And in fact, your own money, your own resources, your own effort, your own energy being invested, you are rest assured that a worthy compensation is going to come for it at harvest. And that's the beautiful part of it. All right, how about precision agriculture and emerging technology? You may see this as the one for the big guys, but still, all things still possible, because we have some farms where all of these things are installed. The things that can monitor your chicken temperature even while they are still running around in their cage, they can tell you what is happening with all your farm produce and all of that. That might look kind of too advanced for us, but it is not. They are the reality of the day. We're talking of soilless farming and all of those. Satellite monitoring. All you have to do is to connect. You don't have to own a satellite. All you have to do is to connect through your phone, and you will know what is happening on your farm. All of these things, they are simple as they come. But then, if you are not informed about it, how are you going to do it? So, my people, technology without usable data will still fail you. But the real value comes from turning information into actionable insight, which is why we have called everyone together tonight to let us see how do we do this together. You are the farmer, we are the data professionals. You have your data, we can help you make something out of it. And together, you have a worthy profit for the work you have done. You have a confident knowledge of the outcome of the work you have done simply by providing your data, simply by using the data that is readily available to you. You don't have to go and buy data. You don't need to go to any other place to go and get it. The information you need is right there on your farm. And lastly, how about we look at food security and national development? And this is the way I see it, that food security is not just agricultural issue. It's an economic issue. It's a planning issue. It's a logistic issue. In fact, it's a governance issue. And most importantly, the reason we're here today, it's a data issue. Because if we know it, we saw what the first speaker was saying, that up to 90% of what is produced is still lost post-harvest. You can imagine that. If we have data to know how much is produced, how much is going out, then we have data to monitor and manage. And that's the beautiful part of it. So without accurate data, governments struggle to forecast shortages. Policymakers make weaker decisions. In fact, they make terrible decisions. And supply chains become inefficient. Even farmers, they are vulnerable because you just do it and you have no idea of what to expect. But with data, we can monitor all of this and then make informed decision based on that, and through that, improve systematically. Now, the opportunity for us as farmers and for the country as a whole, it's already clear to everybody that we have large agricultural sector. We have a growing technology system, ecosystem. I mean, look at it, almost every day there is one technology that is being developed in Nigeria by Nigerians. So, if we have the big agricultural sector already, and we have a great technology ecosystem, why then are we refusing to make use of it? We simply have to increase our digital adoption, bring in the young people. The first speaker mentioned what we have to do to bring in the young people, because without the young people, agriculture will soon become the thing of the past in this country. And imagine how much we are spending on food importation already with our current population, and the population of the country is still growing. And most important part of it is we have a growing interest in analytics and innovation. This is the important part of everything. So when we have all these sectors put together, there is no need for us to introduce analytics as a way of putting everything together so that we all can make informed decisions. And together we can then build agricultural intelligence system. We can build predictive farming systems. We can build smarter supply chain networks. So if your food is supposed to go from here to Lagos, you are not afraid, you are not scared, you are not unsure. It simply goes. Our policies can be data-driven, sustainable food ecosystem framework, and all of those things. All of these are simple things that we can do with the help of data. And they are all possible through collaboration between government, researchers, agribusinesses, and data-informed professionals like ourselves. And so, my people, as we continue discussing the future of agriculture in Nigeria, it is strongly and increasingly clear that if agriculture feeds the nation, then data must guide the system. Because without that, we keep making mistakes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Allah. Thank you, everyone. Do we have any questions before we close this session for tonight? Okay, since there are no questions, I want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that joined. Thank you to the speakers. And thank you for the questions as well. This was very interesting and insightful. I've actually learned a lot as well. So I don't know if anyone else learned something because I'm not seeing a lot of engagement. We only have 2 questions, which is fine. Thank you, everyone. And to close off, have a very great night and thank you once again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.